I'm sure you didn't think it could be the case, but today is Newbie Tuesday, despite the fact that it is Wednesday, June 8th, 2011. This is Day 9 Daily number 312. Yeah, do you like how this webcam shows off every fiber of my face, of my bear fur? Do you like how I match my shirt? Do you like how... That's right, I'm so cool. Let's go through the usual announcements. Going to DreamHack in Sweden, yes, that would be really cool. Tune in, where? Day9.tv, which is exactly where you're watching if you're watching live right now. And if you're an archive viewer, I would like to convert you. Saucy little stud muffin. Definitely tune into Day9.tv. All sorts of amazing tournament action. The player list was actually released. Actually, I want to see if I can open up the player list. I wonder if I can give you a sense of who on earth will be going on. Let's see here. Tourneys, DreamHack Summer. Yeah, just to go through them a little bit. MC is going to be there. White Raw Sake, Nada, Inca Fruit Dealer, Idra, Kost, Naniwa, Sen, Damaga, Jinro, Marine King, Any Pro, Huck, Ret, Straylock, Happy, Stefano, Adele Scott, Brad Thorzane, Show, Hasuabs, Tialo, the German random player, Mana, Tyler, DeMuslim, Maro, Machine, TT1, We Made Fox Moon, and more. Yeah, I did say Morrow. A lot of good players. I even skipped over a few because I want to be fast. But yeah, tune in, watch. It'll be so great. Also, I'm casting a tournament with Husky Starcraft. Go to geforce.com because you can sign up to play, competing for $22,000 in prizes. It is neat. Now we have to get to what I would call the important announcement of today, which is that yesterday, on yesterday's Fun Day Monday, on Tuesday, so I guess we'll call it Fun Day Tuesday, I lost it. I absolutely lost control. Like, I want to show you. Like, okay, this is me. I'm commentating, and then here I am.
Hold out your hands.
Yeah.
Saucy's like future wife,
Yep.
right? Hold your hands out. Put a quarter in one of them. All right, but don't show me. And then Saucy's like, open your left hand. And she opens it, and the quarter's in there. And Saucy's like, if the quarter was in your right hand, that would have been micro. Not that funny. Just kind of, you know. I mean, the joke I was going for is the fact that he just kept burrowing his roaches up and down. It was kind of like random. So if the random choice goes in your favor, that's micro. Okay, that's what I was going for. There's like 1,000,001 explanations for why it was really funny. It actually was not that funny. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 5. You know, like someone says it, and you're like, huh, okay, nice. But you're gonna see me lose it, okay? We're doing some laughter commentary. Look at me, look how. Let's see if I can do that right. And you're gonna see. Watch my eyes. They'll close, and then you'll see them force shut. All right, right. There. That's when I've lost it. There's no going back at this point. I can't. I'm shaking. I can't even... Normally I have a very loud laugh. I'm like out of breath. I don't even know. I'm laughing so hard. I'm convulsing. Oh God, I'm crying. I watch this video so much. I like just laughing at my laughing. Like, there's some of these screenshots that don't even look. Yeah, like here. Am I really enjoying myself? Is that really the time of my life that I'm happy? Yes, apparently. I mean, just listen. I can't. Dude, listen to me. Listen to me. Oh my God. Oh my God, that was so stupid. I hit the point of no return. And that's something I value highly, is the point of no return, where you begin laughing so hard, all of a sudden you hit a point where you're just like, uh-oh. Funny story. I was at just some arbitrary social gathering, and you know how there's like circles of members of the social gathering, right? There's the person who organized it, and then like his close friends. And then there's like another outer ring, which is kind of like, you know, the people who kind of know the people in the middle. But then there's like these like tangential spokes that are coming off, like the girlfriend of a friend on the outer circle, right? And in this story, it was a girlfriend of a friend on the outer circle,
and she brought one of her friends. So she was someone who's just like not even in a circle. She's just completely outside the Venn diagram. We're playing apples to apples, and I don't know if you ever played this game, but it's awesome. And someone played something that was like kind of goofy. It was like something delicious, and someone put down like you know, sandpaper, and this outer like nebulo lady just starts losing it, and she's laughing so hard, and like there's a kind of like hard laughter that like is contagious, where everyone's laughing hard, but it was just like a girl laughing to herself, and everyone's just like looking at her, and she laughs and laughs and laughs, and then she throws up, and everyone was just like, oh my god. Because apples to apples, you got to get a whole new game now. Those cards are ruined. And no one really knew what to do. Because it was like one of your close friends. You're like, Jacob, you're so... Oh my god, Jacob laughs. But it's like, I don't even remember her name. I don't even know what to say to you right now. I didn't quite hit that point. But yes, after MLG, where exhaustion was paramount, and I'd been casting for like 2 hours at the time of that giggling. Hit the point of no return, man. Eyes forced shut. Greatest moment of my life. Today is Newbie Tuesday, or as I like to call it, Newbie Wednesday, because it's Wednesday, and we're still going to focus on the newbie. In today's Newbie Wednesday, we're going to be looking at the topic of adjustment. Let's recap what we talked about last Newbie Tuesday, which was the sort of focus point for this one, which is that adjusting is your fundamental tool in an RTS game. Whether you explicitly state it or not, you always implicitly are doing it. Oh my gosh, I lost a Banshee. God, better build a turret next game. You adjust. You're going to do... You don't say it out loud, but you say, I'm going to do what I did before for the most part, but I'll throw in a turret. Rarely do you do huge changes. Rarely do you say something like, I lost to Banshee. I better switch to Protoss. You don't really do that. It's adjustment as opposed to broad change. So the whole concern then is, what if we adjust in the wrong direction? How tragic would that be? The answer is like a 5. It's like, okay, it's pretty tragic. So we want to look at some games and try to figure out, are we in fact adjusting properly? Is everything going in the right direction? Just going to make sure everything's going well on the server. That's right, it's E3 week, so we just have to make sure that we don't inadvertently crash everything, because there's like 5,000 streams going out, but things look good. So what I requested from folks is to send a replay pack of them playing a bunch of games and making adjustment from game to game. We talk about them. Are they going in the right direction, or are they going in the wrong direction? So we're going to be doing plenty of the right-wrong analysis, where we'll look at something and say, oh, he identified a problem, and this is what he did, and that's great. What could he have done that would have been not great, that would have harmed him? We're going to look at a lot of examples of that. And in addition, I want to point out that there is this thought process that I go through, this little step-by-step checklist that I want to, again, you note something you do wrong, and then you ask yourself, why is that going wrong? And then you say, how do I fix it? What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? What do I do to fix it? Or how do I fix it? The reason I think that this is the important finger, this one, all right? So once again, notice what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and then how are we going to fix it? This is the important one, because this is where the erroneous thinking comes in. For instance, someone saying, my money's too high. All right, that's what went wrong. And they say, I'm going to build more barracks next time. That's how they fixed it. Sounds reasonable, but what if the reason your money was high is not because you didn't have enough barracks? What if it's because you did macro very well? What if you had 10 barracks in your base sitting there doing nothing for 20 minutes, and you had 5,000 minerals, and you said, well, I guess I need 20 barracks? No. So that is the one fundamental technique I want to reinforce a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to go check out games from everyone's favorite virus, EbolaVirus. EbolaVirus. All right, we're going to actually go over to our SC2 screen. Bam, there he is. EbolaVirus. He's going to be the Terran player at the top. He's a silver level Terran player. We're just going to take a brief look at a game with the sound enabled, no doubt. And what we're going to do, ignore these little things like this little SCV sort of working his way over late because he didn't have a rally point. We're just going to briefly take a perusal through here. And you'll note there's a lot of mistakes going on, right? Uh-oh, the SCV's not doing, well, not really building so much. There's a barracks down. Oop, we are getting our orbital command, I guess at an okay time. Our gas was late. Are we still forgetting SCVs? The answer is going to be yes for a lot of periods of time. No right now, but yep, there it is again. A late mule, a late second gas. You know, we can kind of examine through here and note that there are ways to improve. And I want to state that way. I want to say, look at everything that's going wrong. There are things to improve. Because it's very easy to go into self-hate mode and be like, I'm not building SCVs! I suck! Ugh! And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. So we're going to go ahead and continue with our brief little perusal. Nothing too in-depth. We're going to see, yes, Marines, Marauders getting built, a drop, and then look at the money skyrocket. Oh my god! Did we strike gold? Did we invest in Google before it IPO'd? I guess after it IPO'd? Either way, who cares about stock mechanics? That's a lot of money. He's rich. We don't want to have a lot of money in Starcraft2. Oh, we got killed off. And then back home, well, I guess since my drop is dead, I should expand, right? We obviously see that there are things that are going wrong. Now, I want to point out a few more things that are here. There's not really that many unit-producing structures going hard. We don't have that many upgrades. Our army's kind of small. Our SCV count's low. I want you to ask yourself if you have any feelings like this. Perhaps you too are a silver level player and you're saying, I do every one of those things that EbolaVirus does. Perhaps you are a diamond level player who's been trying hard to get into masters and you something I said resonated where you're like, yeah, God, I always forget to build SCVs. Or, oh, every time I go drop my money shoots up into infinity. Apparently it's a very, very sticky, slurpy infinity, but there it is. My money's high. I want to fix that problem. And what we're going to look at today is EbolaVirus's attempts to go through that. And there's a lot of things that I really, really, really like that we're going to end up seeing. First, I want to show you organization. Oh, organization. Yes, that's right. We're going to come back. We're going to look at the document that Ebola submitted because I requested that people give me a write-up of the things they did. And look at this. Look at him. We see what bad thing happened. What's causing the bad thing? What's the adjustment? Or how do I fix it, right? Look, there's little notes before every game, you know, like not huge ones. Look, like Ladder Game 2, felt like I had a plan, lost a base race, all this good jazz. And we're going through all this. Yeah, look at this. Look at how great this is. Now, this looks like a lot of work, but I want to point out a couple of ththings. Let's actually go to Ladder Game 4. It seems good. Ladder Game 4, there's some notes. But then look at the adjustment little lines. What bad thing happened? Didn't keep up on production. Macro slipped again. What's causing this, right? There's a simple explanation. What's the adjustment? Good. Clear adjustment. And then another one. But notice that there are two things that we're doing. This line is one adjustment that we want to do for next game. This line is another adjustment we want to do for next game. There's always a ton of stuff to adjust. There's always so much to worry about. There's so freaking much to worry that goes on in a game. Am I making SCVs? Am I making supply depots? Am I microing perfectly? Am I macroing perfectly? Is my strategy good? Do I maybe need to send a scout worker out on 12, 13, 14? Don't do all of it. Just adjust one thing or a couple of things from game to game. Just adjust them a little bit. And what I love so much about what Ebola is going to do is that some things end up going in the right direction. Some things go in the wrong direction. But when they go in the wrong direction, we're going to see Ebola doesn't dip in there too long. But most importantly of all, Ebola is always just adjusting some small thing. So I want to come back here to the very, very top. Let's actually zoom on in. Here's my favorite part right at the start. I want to harass my opponent's main with 2 full medevacs to stim, and then build an army to go kill him! There was grammatical correctness in what was written here. Blinking is going to absolutely drive me insane. Let me just turn that one off. Woo! Woo, baby! Thank you, MIRC, for stopping the blinking. Yeah, so with which to kill the game. Good, very grammatical. This is what I always say when I say go have a plan. Really simple. I'm a Zerg player. I want to get 3 bases and then tech up to Broodlords and win with those. Maybe over time you want to complicate it by saying, I want to get 3 bases and go Ling Muta Baneling to help me stay alive so that I can get Broodlords and go win the game. It's like a sentence. And here is, I think, my favorite, my second favorite. I'm gonna have like 50 favorites, but this is my favorite. This is my favorite. Oh, you know what's my favorite thing? This thing right here. Here's something that I love. So, blah, blah, blah. Although I won the game, felt out of control, felt like I didn't have a plan after the drop, all unit crumbled, spam units and depots, I'll use the 12-minute mark as a milestone indicator, as that's about when I should be focused on building my winning army. Two is that there's a focus just on that up to the 12-minute mark, and trying to make sure that it's like a good docking station for us to sort of fly off into the sky and, you know, go into the late game in a really, really successful fashion. But it's not necessarily this huge, gigantic, let's focus on the whole game and find every little thing I did wrong. It's just, you know what, I'm just going to look at the start. And that's something that I recommend to a lot of you, because let's be honest. We play StarCraft2 because we like games and we want to have fun, right? We don't play StarCraft2 because we want to be complete antisocial losers who sit playing only against the computer till our build is perfected and we will only accept 100% win ratios and have no lie. Like, we don't. You want to go on there, win a game that's crazy and go tell your friends about it. So what I want to emphasize so much is that you can always scope down your adjustment to whatever you want. I'm working on the first 8 minutes of the game. And after that, whatever, man. I don't give a shit. I don't give a butt. You know, just do whatever. You know, just say, I'm going to do something reasonable until the 12-minute mark. And then once it's 12 minutes, baby, I'm going to be doing, like, Nidus Worm harass. I'm going to be going nuts, bending drops. I'm going to be having fun. Feel free to scope this down as much as you want. So let's go ahead and look at what some of the analysis was there on the first one, right? So, mechanics. Miss tons and tons of SCVs. What's causing the bad thing? Micro distracts me. When scouting, dropping, or defending, I lose focus. Notice that this bad thing could be very different than why you don't make tons of SCVs. Maybe it's the fact that you don't ever hotkey SC or hotkey or command center. Maybe it's that you always feel tempted to cut SCVs to get stuff out faster. Whatever it is, make sure you know exactly why that is. So here, look at this. What's the adjustment? Hey, use day 9 daily number 252. Use control groups better. Work with the minimap more. Specifically, yeah, we'll send the drop over and force myself to switch between control groups. Very, very clear things. Economy. Whoa. Too much money, not spending enough. Micro distracts me. All right, good. And this is an amazing, amazing note. About when the first 2 medevacs are ready, I don't really know what's the best structure and production combination to use. This is a very, very common issue that pops up, especially with the lower level, you know, like gold, silver, bronze, where they'll hit a point, don't really know what to do. Should I make a bunch of starports or factories or barracks? Well, what the brain tends to do when faced with lots of decisions is actually to not make a decision. I'm not making that up. They did this great study where they put up a jelly rack with jars of jelly. And they had, I think it was in the first test case, they had 36 different kinds of jelly. So people come up and look around and they either select a jelly or they move on. And then they did the same test again where they only had 6 different kinds of jelly. Very, very clear, simple structure. And something like 80% more people purchased jelly when there were fewer kinds. Brains do not like having tons and tons and tons and tons of options. So macro tends to get high because, again, when faced with all the decisions of what to do, your brain tends to do nothing, and then you just get terrible macro. So great, identified that. It says work on mechanics as noted above and work on build optimization. What we're going to actually see is that there's a little bit of a link up here. Kind of the same solution. Ignore this for a moment now that I've highlighted it. A problem was that the stim was not ready. Poor mechanics, lack of timing, don't know everything. And hey, look, here's an adjustment.
Learn the best way to do the build. Follow Day 9 Daily number 285, which is a daily where I talk about how to set up a build, how to refine a build. There was a methodology there. We'll go through it in just a minute. But, okay, cool. Notice that in all of these circumstances, there is a very, very clear, here's what went wrong, here's why it's going wrong, and here, let's solve it. In a sense, let's get meta and sort of critique what could possibly be going awry. This one thing where stim is not done, and what's our adjustment, or like what's causing that? This will absolutely change as you get better and better and better. It'll oftentimes be something complicated, like I really need 50 extra gas to get concussive shell, which ties up that tech lab, so I can't start it that early. And if I don't get the concussive shell, I lose to build X. And then the solution might be something like send a scout out, and if he's not doing build X, then let's get our stim really, really early on. So, again, these are very, very smart adjustments that are going to be made, and I want to briefly go through that build order adjustment, or that build order refinement process. What I always say is to do chunking of build orders, where we just say, what are we doing before the expansion in terms of what structures do we have? What do we do when we get the expansion? And what do we do after the expansion? All right, so look at this. 2 barracks, 1 tech lab, 2 refineries, a starport with a reactor, and a factory, and stim. A simple little list. This can actually get very, very simple for some builds, like 3 gateways, and then what do you do when you expand? Well, you just expand, and then after expansion, you get a forge and another gateway. It can be really, really, really simple. This is perhaps a little bit more complicated than usual, but that's fine, you know, because we're breezing through it. Go watch 285 if you really, 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 really would like to know. So let's go ahead and note that there's all the little adjustments that are going to be made in terms of refinement of the build. So let's actually come back to this game and just sort of speed up. I intentionally stopped at the 12-minute mark because I want to point out some things that are actually physically going wrong. Not so that we can say, hey, EbolaVirus, you're doing this wrong. We've already read through what he did, right? But we're going to note things that I think many people would clearly say that is bad. One of the big things that sticks out in my head is the starports. This is very clearly not useful. Notice in the production, just look at the little white dots that are at the bottom. This starport so far has been empty. I'm actually on ×4. We've had basically empty starports for a while. Okay, now they're all empty. Not doing anything. Oh, hey, look at that! He's building stuff! Ah! Right, that's bad. So you don't want that. And we could definitely say something like, oh, Ebola, you don't need to make that many barracks. But you know what I like that Ebola did? And this is actually super key for many of you who are, you know, not people like me who want to play this game for like 9 million hours a day. But when we come back to, okay, cool, it glitched out for a moment. When we come back here, notice, what are we trying to adjust? We're just trying to work on our SCVs, we're just trying to keep our money low, and we're just trying to work on STEM. That's all that we're trying to do. We're not going to go for the starports, and that's actually good. That's actually great. And what we're going to see is that mysteriously here, in this, you know, buildings and tech thing, this is what's so nice about deciding things in between games. What is my build going to be? Well, you know what? Let me just say 3 racks more. Going to get combat shield and concussive shell, and then I'm going to get myself some upgrades. We remove the guesswork from our minds. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into one of the let's go into one of the earlier games of, actually one of the later games of Ebola learning this build. So this is his 5th game. EbolaVirus has been playing through his little opening for quite some time. And now we're going to see if there's any less bumps that are going on. And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at one of his first ladder games. So let's jump into this match. One thing I want to note that EbolaVirus is doing, he's going to do the exact same build against all 3 races. I like that a lot.
Because you heard me say, the fewer things you're practicing, the more you're scoping down, the better. I like that much, much more. Even though it might be more or less effective against some of the other races, you're still getting a chance to work on things in a very limited environment. Let's note a couple of things right away. This gas, that timing's really good. Our orbital command, well, whoops, we accidentally made another SCV in there, but it's going to be faster than in the previous game. We're noticing another little thing. Okay, well, you know what? That supply depot is actually too early. Look at that. We're 18 of 35. 18 to 35. We're going to see EbolaVirus get himself extra barracks. But I want you to note how his money is doing throughout all this. Just watch his money count and realize that it's quite a bit lower. And even though there's what many would call an egregious error building the supply depot too early, ooh, forgetting this orbital command, ooh, maybe having our barracks not producing all the time, this money is going to stay low. And look at that, yeah, building 2 medevacs right on time. We haven't gotten supply blocked, actually, the whole time. Our stim is still going to be too early. But look at him loading up. Hey, we have enough units for this harassment. And one of the adjustments EbolaVirus noted is that he loses this drop a lot because he's having a little bit of trouble focusing on, or excuse me, he loses grip on his macro when he sends his drop out a lot. So what adjustment is he going to make? Well, he's just going to send it via the minimap and unload it via the minimap. Let's actually go to his camera and see the way in which he deals with that. Oops, let me do this. So we're seeing him macro. Again, look at how beautifully low that money is. I want to, note a couple of little mistakes that are going on. Uh-oh, oh, there's a drop going on. I mean, it's against the computer, but we haven't even taken a look. Yeah, Paltry Player 2, yeah, take it. But yeah, we have not really seen much that goes on with this drop, okay? We haven't really seen much. Yeah, that's one of those things that could potentially be cause for concern. I, though, am very, very happy that Ebola has low money. I said that so aggressively. I'm very happy. I'm happy. Nerd rage. Right? Like, so... it actually is true that I'm delighted that we are seeing the adjustments that Ebola was trying to make. He is making them. And this is actually a pretty subtle point because it is actually bad to not look at the drop. It is actually bad to not look at the drop. If you're going to drop and put units in a vulnerable position, then, let's make sure that we're, taking good care of them. When you go to the firing range, don't cover your eyes. Take 10 steps back, do a little 360 like you're going to hit a piñata and just start blasting away. Good. I'm glad I used that example so everyone understands the severity of abandoning your drops. People could get killed. What I want to note is that if we go back to our adjustment diagram, coming back up here, all right, what were we adjusting? Just the economy. Just the economy, right? We were just trying to improve our economy. That's okay. It is okay to be making mistakes in other areas of your Starcraft2 as long as you're just accepting that it's something you're not worried about. This is what I don't want you to think. I don't want you to do something like, yeah, you know what? My drops are going really, really, really horribly. So I'm going to just elect to ignore them and drop them and pray for the best, or I'm going to decide that my drops are not as important as my macro at home. Or do some sort of misanalysis like that. The answer, if you're actually losing your drops to what's the problem, the answer is that you're not fast enough. And you need to learn to play faster. So you should actually spend an entire day playing through against a computer, macroing while sending dropships around. You can actually master this skill in like an hour.
of moving around. You just hotkey your dropships and start moving around, clicking, macro and moving around, clicking, macro and moving around, clicking. Restart. Macro, move around, clicking. You need to play against the computer. But if you are not trying to fix something, it's okay if it's going horrifically wrong. That is okay. If you are well aware that your drops are going terribly and that you weren't looking at them and that you were trying to maybe make some judgments off them that continue this trend, that's what I'm really worried about. But as we come back, oops, I tried to Alt-Tab, but Alt-Tabbing doesn't work nearly as well as actually moving my video mixer to look at the screen. As we come back here, we're realizing, wow, EbolaVirus, look at how low his money is. Oh, you know, maybe had stim a little bit late, but either way, playing against the computer has demonstrated considerable positive impact for EbolaVirus. Especially at this very moment as we speed things up a little bit. Yeah, now we're gonna take our expansion, and I'm gonna stop it at 12 minutes. Bam. 12 minutes. That moment that Ebola noted was when he was setting all his benchmarks. Look, we have our 3 barracks building now. We have this beautiful smorgasbord of marine upgrades. Actually, you can't see that because the DreamHack logo. See my little mouse? See my little mouse? Yeah, down here. You see where it's going off screen? Right here is where Stim normally is and where Combat Shield normally is in these slots, but they're gone. They've been researched. Look at these Marines. Look at how powerful he is. He has 55 health, and again, you can't see it, but down here, there's a little Stim off to your right, Mr. Marine. Stop looking at my mouse pointer. What are you looking at? Wow. It's pretty cool. So this is great. What did EbolaVirus do? He said, I'm having trouble because I don't really know where I'm supposed to go. My economy's slipping. I'm forgetting to do a lot of things because I actually don't have a good build. So we worked on it. You might have a great build, or you might have a build you've done since the dawn of time, and you don't necessarily need this big adjustment. But you know what Ebola does, so he did that. Coming right on back, let's go ahead and quit this game. Quitting! Quite le game. Multiplayer Tuesday. EbolaVirus. Let's go look at this first ladder game against a Zerg player, against the giant Newbie. Let's pop into it. Now, we're going to see an adjustment list. Let's pretend that we are Ebola and that we just finished the game. Let's see what adjustments he decided to make. What he said was, felt like I had a plan. Drop was ready, had stim. Yeah, good, I did an improvement. What bad things went on? Well, missed SCVs. During my build test, hit 36 workers at 12 minutes. Cool. Has some, well, let's actually look at just what bad things happened. He didn't scout his enemy, so he had no freaking clue where to scout. He also had to pull his natural twice. I'm actually going to ignore this Broodlord one. This is a very useful thing to do when you rewatch your games. You know, just sit here, just pick a thing. I hate your race, I apologize. Let's just look here at our SCVs. Dum-da-dum-bum. Uh-oh. Alright, good. Looking good. Dum-da-dum-dum-dum. Bum-bum-ba-da. Oh. No. Where's our orbital command? Oh, there it is. Oh, crap. Oh my goodness, that's late. So, I haven't heard Ebola talk much about orbital command timing, and that is okay. That is okay. Our fundamental tool is adjustment. We're just adjusting in a way that helps us with specifically what we're working on. This is this whole idea of scoping down. This is why you pick one race instead of all 3 races. It's easier. This is why you pick one build instead of all builds, because it's a little easier, and that's why you ignore potentially bad things like these whole orbital commands going down at an extremely late period of time. And what have I done? I've sat here for a little while and I've noted, yeah, you know what? I'm not really building as often out of them. And if we even go to the unit station, look at that, 28 SCVs. And we're going to see, oh yeah, the drop just gets murdered, totally demolished. And then here, yep, 30 SCVs. And we saw a benchmark that Ebola's using. He's benchmarking against himself. He's saying, I have gotten 36 workers. In this game, I have 30 workers. Therefore, I could do better. And we have all the adjustments to macro that we have in store. But one thing I want to come back is moving over here.
where it says, Brood Lords wiped out my base. That's the bad thing that happened. What caused this? Scouting would have given me a heads up. And then here we see, what's the adjustment? Well, the adjustment is kamikaze a medevac into the enemy base, or use it like an overlord and hang it on the edge of the base. In other words, we're hearing that Ebola wants to do some technique to just scout it in advance. That could potentially be incorrect. Let's go that later on. I want to just plant that in your mind, that that's something we need to worry about later on. Be aware that Brood Lords become a big threat. We're seeing EbolaVirus. Whoa, many mules! Could be a problem that we could identify. Don't identify 100 problems in each game. Identify 3 to 4. Because what we've seen, I mean, hell, look at this money. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing how an adjustment occurred where he just sort of planned out what structures he wanted to use, told himself he was going to work on mechanics, and now his money's low? Oh, he solved a problem! Oh, yes! That's great! That even feels good when you have a problem and you fix it like that. Yes! Fixing problems is the fucking man! That phrase is so great. So, yeah. It looks like, uh-oh, we see Greater Spire plopping out. Now, a good question is, what did EbolaVirus do wrong? And this is something I talked about quite a lot in yesterday's daily, and I'm going to talk about it a little more in just a moment. Just a moment. It's about when we end up preparing for things. We see EbolaVirus taking himself a third. And at the start of all this, we noted that EbolaVirus said, I'm just thinking about the first 12 minutes. That's it. That's going to be my benchmark. I just want to think up to minute 12, and then I'm cool. And that's fine. That's great. Most of it thus far has been mechanics. We haven't talked as much about strategy. We'll talk about that later on, because that's kind of how Ebola will end up guiding us. But I want to again note this Broodlord thing, because this is so easy to happen to people who aren't doing this adjustment exercise we're doing today. Where I can tell you right now, as we're looking around, Ebola is actually not being aggressive. Zerg is getting to do whatever he wants. Zerg has total freedom. And then all of a sudden these Broodlords appear, and they're doing a lot of damage. Far more so than we would really like. I must times 8 it. I tragically apologize. I would just like to brag that my computer can handle times 8ing without a single bump in the slightest. Oh, Broodlords are awfully good. So this is what can happen in a very typical game, where you can say, oh, good adjustment, bad adjustment. I love this whole analysis. Oh, the bad adjustment is to say something like, well, I guess I should have spotted it earlier. I guess I need to suicide a medevac. I guess I need to know. Oh my god. Oh, crap. Oh. Alright, you get the game. It's going to be a base trade, and Broodlords are going to win. So, the wrong thing to do is, I actually think, a very natural thing to do, is similar to what we're seeing EbolaVirus do. I don't like the adjustment of saying, let's suicide a medevac in, let's find out, because our Terran buddy, EbolaVirus, saw the Broodlords for a long time, and the first attack killed it, and then was still worried about it, because it, in the end, won the game. I want you to note that that first attack, that first freaking attack, oh crap, I closed it, whoops. The first attack from the Broodlords was crushed. We killed it, we took some damage, but we killed it, right? We killed the first attack with Broodlords came. Like 15 minutes later, Broodlords eventually come in and kill us off. Was the problem really that we didn't know that the Broodlords were coming? Maybe we were surprised at first, but once that surprise was gone, we were still in a completely and totally winnable position. So it's very easy, again, to make this mistake of, what was the last thing that happened to me in the game? Well, it was losing to Broodlords. Well, how do I not do that? To put things in a more abstract sense, if you make a mistake at minute 10 that is a crippling, awful mistake,
But your game lasts till minute 30. Your brain wants to answer questions about minute 25. Broodlords, we're coming in minute 25, I gotta fix that. What you really need to do is go back to minute 10 and say, I let that Zerg get 4 bases, so he could have built anything to kill me, and he ended up building Broodlords. Let me not let him get those 4 bases at the 10-minute mark. These are the sort of things that you want to do. So, as far as I'm concerned, if I actually come back to this thing, where it's Broodlords wiped out my base, I would say why this problem, it's not scouting, I would say the problem is I still don't really have a good time to attack early on. I probably could have killed him. Maybe I should be trying to kill him before those Broodlords happen. How would I know this? Well, maybe I would watch a whole bunch of Terran versus Zerg games, and I would see that Broodlords don't really crop up that often, and when they do, they just were really, really hard to get. And even if you do make this tragic mistake where you suicide in to find them, what's so nifty is that once you've cleaned up those first 12 minutes, suddenly this literally doesn't even happen where these Broodlords end up killing your base because you've already won so many games. So let's actually pop back here and look through here. We're ladder game. Yay, improvement. I win with a solid army. I'm the man. Yeah. Congratulate yourself, man. Taking these notes is great. Yeah. The drop was ready on the right time. The drop was ineffective. The drop harmed me. I want to note this. The drop harmed me. Okay, cool. Let's actually pop in here. I hate when these little glitches appear. There we go. Minerals still got way too high. That's fine. Here's something that I think is starting to be one of those developments of the strategy analysis, the strategy adjustment. The drop is ineffective. The drop was ineffective. This is really important that I want to highlight this now. I really want to highlight this now. Drop was effective. And notice what caused it. Well, I sent it through the watchtower. My opponent saw. Yeah, maybe I should just move it along the edges. This is a very reasonable adjustment. Why do I think that is very reasonable? Some people might say, well, don't drop, or put different things in the drop sit. Why is that the best adjustment? I'm going to wait and let you think. Because it's small, right? That's why I like it. It's a nice small little adjustment that doesn't drastically change. Again, the extreme thing is my medevac drop didn't work. AFK playing Protoss. You don't want to do that. You even don't want to do something like my drop didn't work. I guess I'm not dropping anymore. What I just said happens so much. Let me try to build some Immortals. I lost a game with Immortals. What we're actually going to see throughout the course of all this is that Ebola plays a lot of games and he's still trying to drop and he's still trying to drop and he's still trying to drop, and eventually he cuts dropping off completely. But he doesn't do it immediately. He plays a couple of games, and that is so important to do, to play a couple of games doing the same thing with minor subtle adjustments. Let's pop into ladder game number 3. Let's see exactly what Ebola is talking about. We won't have time to go through all these adjustments. He's playing against real quiet. But I want to note that one in particular. Okay, good. We're building our supply depot. Couple of bumps end up occurring along the way. This is fine. So dum-da-dum-dum. Oops, we're not walled in. Okay, that's fine. We're building our second barracks. We're probably going to build a factory in a moment. The order of these buildings is changing a little bit. We still haven't built our factory yet. You know, that's fine. Ebola isn't trying to have a really refined build. He's trying overall to keep his money low, to build his SCVs, because that's all the adjustments that he's been doing. He's even declared that he's doing the same build in all these games, this really fast drop with getting Stim and a bunch of Marine Marauders at the same time. So then here it comes. Here comes the drop. Let me go to the... wow, I can't believe I suddenly forgot that hotkey. What a brain fart. Units tab. Wow. I've done 312 of these, and I forgot the hotkey for the units tab. Good! Good. Well, I guess the problem is that I just need to sleep a little bit more. So the adjustment I'm going to make for the next daily is to nippy nappy ASAPy. All right, let's go back. Whoa, let's not go to that one.
That's not what we want to do. All right, let's go into this camera. So we see that our Protoss buddy actually doesn't really have that much, but we see there's a drop go in. Uh-oh. He sees it. He retreats. Oh, okay. Yeah, so of course when our medevacs end up rolling on in, we lose one, and then we... Oh my gosh, yes. This ever happened to you? Did this happen to you? Now, what I think is wonderful is that Ebola rewatched this game and saw the following happen. Let me show you. He saw... Uh-oh, here comes the medevacs. He saw, looking on the minimap, seeing this, and then all these units pulling back to hit the drop. Let me show you what happens in a regular ladder game. Here, what we're about to see is the danger of a bad adjustment. Here's you in your ladder game. You're like, ooh, I can't wait to drop. Oh, my drop's going to hit him so hard. Num. What? There's units here. Oh! And then you're going to lose your medevac, and you're going to go, oh! And then your drop's going to lose. And what are you going to say to yourself? Oh, well, I went to drop him, and their units were already in his base. I'm not dropping anymore. You cross it off your list. If you rewatch the replay, you see that the drop would have demolished the opponent. Crushed the opponent. So, you... And then Ebola notes that the thing that went wrong is that the probe spotted it at the Xel'Naga watchtower. So he's just going to skirt along the edges. It's a slight adjustment. He doesn't over-adjust. He doesn't go, well, I'm not dropping anymore. Now, to completely ignore all these games... Yes, if you rush for a drop really fast, most of the time good Protosses just leave their units in their main and it doesn't work very well. This is true, but I still want to note that the small adjustment is what happens first, not the over-adjustment. Very, very important. And again, just to note, Ebola, by watching the replay, got this insight about this probe spotting absolutely everything, and this was the entire key to motivate him to just move this along another direction. Great. That is really great. That is super, incredibly, duper great. Let's try to go and see some more strategy things. We're going to pop back to, again, this little note list. Ladder game. Yeah, one step back, right? Oh, a fun little label. Yeah, scouting is helping. All this other stuff. Yeah, we're actually going to ignore this a little bit. So let's look here. Let's look at the first. What's the bad thing that happened? Macro slipped again, right? Macro slipped again. I'm trying to highlight just that. There we go. Macro slipped again. He kept getting scanned and lost focus. Kept expecting attack. It looks like, yeah, he needs... Oh, look at this. This is so awesome. What's the adjustment? Well, I'm adding control groups during all this, and I'm doing a little bit of tapping. For any of you who don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Day 9 Daily number 252, where I introduce the tap and talk all about mechanics, like how to hold your mouse and keyboard and stuff. But then I want to know, look at this, strategy, drop ineffective, lost 20 food count in a heartbeat, no return on investment, should have cost me game. What was causing the bad thing? It was just late. Referencing all this. Adjustment, if I can't get the drop working by 8, forget it. Brilliant adjustment. Brilliant adjustment. That is really smart. Because again, it's such a bad habit to fall into when I say, here's a mistake I'm making. Next game, I'm just going to not do that. What you really want is to say, there's a mistake. Next game, I'm going to do blah, which will cause me not to make that mistake. I'm forgetting to build SCVs, so next game, I'm going to hotkey my command center as 4 and spam the shit out of 4, so I never forget an SCV. Oh my gosh, my drop was really ineffective because it was way late. Next game, I'm just going to set a hard cutoff on the time. If I'm at 8 minutes and 1 second, I'm not moving out. It's clear, it's crisp, it's everything you could ever want. Ooh. So let's go ahead and pop into the game. Let's see what ended up cropping up in there. Tuesday, Ebola, Newbie Tuesday. Going to game number, was it number 4? Actually, we're going to go ahead and skip that because I just realized it's 7:58. Let's see here. Yeah, look, no drop happened. Here's an interesting thing that happened. By the way, when you watch this game, yeah, it's just like a super late drop. And again, I want to note, little change. It's not I dropped, or I did the drop, and it was so effective, I'm not dropping at all. He's creating a condition. He's saying, I want to drop, but sometimes I won't. Okay, are you starting to notice? First it was, I'm going to drop and it didn't work. Let me move the path a little bit. I dropped and it didn't work. Well, let me just try to do it earlier. We are trying to keep what our plan is for as long as possible before abandoning ship. We want to do little tiny adjustments. Don't want to make gigantic changes. Sometimes it's easy to make a big change. Sometimes it's like, I'm going to rush for battle cruisers before units. It's like, well, you die because you have no units. You go, well, I guess I'm going to have to make a whole bunch before then. You have to actually do something big. But I still want to note that there is always justification for making it small in what we're seeing here. So what was described by, our hero, EbolaVirus, in the game is what happened. So latter game, see, I won an interesting game. We both turtled. Match said he was favored. Scared me into thinking crazy stuff was going to happen. It's kind of funny because these are things that happen pretty typically. But let's see here. There was, I want to actually really note, I actually really want to explore what happened in this game because it was labeled as no drop. Because in our previous game, we said an adjustment was if we're at the 8-minute mark, we're just not gonna, ooh, don't do that. Don't cancel buildings. If we're at the 8-minute mark and we don't actually end up seeing, or we can't actually end up beginning our drop, then forget about it. Then forget about it. There's our factory going down. We're going to get another reactor in a moment. Yep, building up our units. Should be seeing stim in a little bit. Yep, there it is. And here comes our starport. Whether this is a super optimized build or not, it's fine. It's totally fine. We created a rule. So hey, you know what? Our medevacs are going to pop out. It's after the 8-minute mark. Ebola obeyed his rule. He just said, yeah, forget it. I'm not dropping. I'm just getting this stuff. Oh, Faralaw, you bastard. Going for the sneaky hidden expo. So great. EbolaVirus did his little thing, and now all of a sudden he's in a different game state. And I've been talking at the start about adjustments for mechanics, for macroing, building SCVs. Plenty of that in EbolaVirus's little self-manual, but there's always a little bit of strategy stuff in there. We're starting to see how we're drifting somewhere in terms of strategy. Good, drifting, kind of slowly perusing around. And it's still all built around a couple of key goals. One, that he wants to do this drop, that he wants to get these medevacs fast. Also, there's this key goal of, I'm going to build these structures, and then I'm going to expand, and then I'm going to build these exact structures. 2 racks, 1 factory, 1 starport, expand, and then get 3 more barracks and some upgrades. Every single time we're seeing that theme come up again and again, but now little adjustments to when we're dropping. It's not huge, we're not going crazy, we're not losing our brains. So let's actually just start zipping through here, and I want to note that, let's see here. Ladder 7, drops suck. Aside from miserable drop, this was a good game. Yeah. Kept cool, okay, did a good job of spending my minerals, all this good stuff, yeah, but we're starting to note that he just says drops suck. It actually wasn't listed here, but we're going to see the drop have some problems. That was game 7, I believe, yeah, game 7. Then we're going to take a brief perusal through game 8, just to appreciate EbolaVirus in all his glory in these games. And I want to note a couple of meta things in these games of, we're going to analyze the way he's analyzing. There's a little bit of focus on mechanics. There's a little bit of Ebola going, I need a macro, I need a hotkey, I'm going to do this with my buildings. And there's a little bit of strategy. There's a little bit of maybe I need to drop late, maybe I need to do this earlier or later, but he's doing a little bit of both. If you want, you can just focus on mechanics for a day. If you want, you can just focus on strategy for a day. If you want, you can say every other game, I'm only focusing on mechanics. But in the games between, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. That's fine. I mean, it's almost like dieting, except
Except, it's not like if your mechanics are bad, you're going to gain weight. Like, it's... I mean, you can think of it like, okay, I'm going to eat healthy on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm only eating Skittles and beer, right? You can do that if you want. Not going to feel very nice. But do that. Feel free to do that with the Starcraft2 because it's a game that we play to have fun, and I know you're tuning in because you want to have techniques to improve, and this is a great method, but don't overdo it for God's sake. You'll see a lot of tip-top pros like Huck laddering for long periods of time, and then he'll play... like Snake, like the use map settings game, Roach Snake. It's really fun. Why not? Right? Make sure you do that. So again, a lot of appreciation for what we're seeing EbolaVirus do. He's doing a little bit of strategy adjustments, a little bit of macro adjustments. That is a great way. That's one thing that I personally really like to do. So anyways, we're going to see EbolaVirus. Alright, he's making his 2 Edivacs. Edivacs in production. Hey, it's before the 8-minute mark, so as our strategy dictates, we're going to send that out. Oh, baby, did that feel bad. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, God, that was bad. Whoa. But this is one of these funny moments that ends up cropping up where you end up staying alive, and you might be a little bit frowny. You have your little tech lab that's just sort of sitting here. I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but the tech lab looks like a giant robot trying to pull itself out of the ground. See what I mean? See, like, here's the left hand, and then here's the right hand, and here's the head, and it's looking out that way. See what I mean? He's like, help me. And then, of course, when the barracks finish, you'll see his neck break. Oh, there it went. Giant tech lab now. But yeah, we saw Ebola, you know, really not like this drop. I mean, this is a position that you can be put in where you're just like, this sucks. Now, to note, this game is a 30-minute game. This is a 30-minute game. EbolaVirus has been in a horrendous position for a very long time. He's been getting attacked. He's got his barracks killed. It turned his tech lab into a giant robot trying to crawl out of the ground. Ah, it's not good. Nah. But what I love so much is, what did EbolaVirus say about this game? He said drops suck. I mean, I'm actually zooming through this game. I'm not showing you because I'm dastardly. And I mean, there's all this pressure going on. Just listen. Doesn't sound very nice, does it? Just a lot of building up an army, transferring workers again. Oh, hey, looks like we killed them off. Killing them off in a direct push. Yeah, you want to see this, don't you? Yeah. Starting to do all this good jazz, little good bitty business. What would be the wrong thing to do, the wrong way to adjust? To say something like, well, I guess I need to scout him to see if he's going for Colossus. Like, let's say the Colossus attacked and killed you. Let's say the Protoss got a bunch of expansions and overran you. Let's say the Protoss got Dark Templar and dropped you and killed you with it. Screw all that, dude. You lost 2 medevacs at the start of the game to nothing, man. You lost 2 medevacs. Do you remember? Do you not remember? Yeah, you see right here. Remember those guys that you lost that allowed all these Protoss units to wreak havoc at your front door? You remember this? Yeah. It's because you lost your drop. This is a useful game that occurs in many players' experience because you get punished so hard for something that it sticks out in your mind. Your drop dies and you're just like, oh no. And then you're defending and he's attacking and you're like, no, no, no. And he's still attacking and everything feels terrible, but you're barely staying alive, but it feels terrible, but you're barely staying alive. And afterwards you're like, oh, I don't want to be there again. Ugh, gross. But the one thing that's so nice there is that it reinforces the essential concept. Go back to the earliest moment when things went awry and try to make that not happen. The earliest moment in time when things went awry. Earliest, not the latest. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this final game from Ebola and we're just going to appreciate. Yeah. So we're going to come in as we speed things up because as I look at my clock, it's 8:08. Oh, I've been going for an hour. And I still want to take questions, so we're going to see Ebola. He's been working on macro. He's been working on money. I'm going to keep my hand over this command center. Look at it. Build those SCVs. He's just saving it so we can make an orbital command right on time. And notice that when it finishes, build an SCVs. And another SCV. That was not a big gap. Oop, that's a potentially larger one. Still, oh, having a little bit of an issue. Yeah, okay, now we're going back. Yeah, look at the money. Look at how low the money is. Look at how low the money is. Also note that we're not going to drop. We are not going to be doing any sort of dropping action. Still making SCVs. Still making SCVs. What's his APM? Not high at all. Ebola is doing great for his hand speed. This is fantastic. Money's so low. What was that benchmark that he was using before? The 12-minute mark? Oh, look at these barracks constantly building things. Look at him just having nice little macro. Continuing to churn those out. Oh, yep, following the basic structure of his build. Oops, a little bit of a slip, but hey, look at how low that money is. No drops coming up, just going to do a direct attack. Oops, we're a little bit past the 12-minute mark, but look at this. We're actually at 1, 2, 3, 4. Hell, make a wish. But what are we seeing? We are seeing low money. Low money. Look at how high Blues is. Blue having actually some kind of disorganizational problems over here. Not EbolaVirus. No, sirree, no! And in almost every single one of these things, if we just come to this Newbie Tuesday doc, I mean, almost every single one of these, look, macro starts to slip. SCV count doesn't increase. Yeah, macro slipped again. SCV count doesn't improve. Alright, look, macro slipped again. Okay, look at these things. Minerals get way too high. We are seeing consistently Ebola is identifying this problem and trying to adjust to make it better. And we're seeing that it's getting better. Why is it starting to slip right now? Because EbolaVirus is trying to mount up to do a huge-ass attack. You know what? The 12-minute mark was his macro benchmark. In the later game, we're going to see it get high. Oh, yep, a little droppy action going on. He's moving. He drops an SCV here. That's so cute. I love that. Money's starting to get a little bit low again, but now, this is the greatest thing ever. Look at Ebola, who first was trying to drop early and is now trying to drop not at all and was just focusing on his macro. This great little thing happens. Yeah. Yeah, where you at, Protoss? Where you at? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Go Ebola. EbolaVirus! Yay! Yay! And he's crushing! He is crushing! Ebola! Ebola! Don't catch me chanting that out of context. Ebola! You know, it actually never occurred to me this entire daily that that was potentially not okay to be saying that, because his name is actually a terrible virus that causes a lot of deaths, you know, like, never actually dawned on me. Let me reopen up MIRC again, because I accidentally just closed it, right? But yeah. You know, that's kind of a funny thing that happens in games. Like, there was a famous player named Testy, and I would always be talking about Testy in public, like in line to get pizza. Like, oh yeah, Testy. Oh, Testy's so good. Never actually occurred to me that that was weird out of context. Anyways, I want to know, what have we seen Ebola do? We've seen him try to ask a lot of questions of how to improve his own macro and give some clear tips to himself of how to improve it. He identified little issues with his strategy and made the smallest of adjustments to try to address it. And then we ended up seeing changes in strategy and improvements in macro to the point where now we're seeing this game where, holy cow, EbolaVirus is just rolling his opponent. And this is going to hit a point with all of you where after not that many games, you're going to hit your stride. And you're going to be able to wreck the opposition with a build that you're doing. And a lot of people will say the following. They'll be like, but this is not a good build. I know that this shouldn't work, that pros don't do this, and I've seen them lose. It is okay to keep doing your build over and over and over again, because if you're in silver and you find a build that works really well for you and it's working, it's getting to gold, it's still working, it's getting into platinum, wow, and then you hit a wall where you're like, I don't have enough stuff. As long as you're continuing to use this idea of little adjustments, you'll be able to improve. Like, let's say EbolaVirus is going barracks, factory, barracks, starport, realizes that, you know what, this early starport isn't helping me that much. And then he just starts to go barracks, factory, barracks, and then makes a bunch of units. Or actually, here's a better example. Let's say he goes barracks, factory, barracks, starport, but just never seems to have enough units. Never seems to have enough units. And he thinks, I guess I'm going to expand earlier. So then he goes barracks, factory, barracks, command center, and then gets the starport after all that. It's an adjustment. And then he's just like, man, I still don't have enough units. So then he starts going barracks, command center, barracks, factory, starport, right? He just keeps making that command center earlier and earlier. And this is actually how a lot of people end up getting into high diamond and low masters, is they have a build that they just do, and that's it. That is it. In fact, if you can ever get a replay pack of someone who's high diamond, just look and you'll start to see that most games, it's like the same thing over and over again. Nothing wrong with it, actually everything right about it. And I promise any of you bronze, silver, golders, just constantly try to readjust, identify these problems, play, and you will easily get into those higher divisions. Let's take some questions. Let us take some questions. Go into Markio's question grabber. Start grabbing questions. Should have done that earlier while I was doing my little inspirational speech, but I wanted to make eye contact with you. Refresh. With the new version of Firefox, I can never find refresh. Here's a good question from Peak Status, who says, Dear Day 9, if you are trying to improve a certain strategy, but you are constantly losing, should you continue on with that strat? I have two seemingly contradictory answers, but we'll see why they aren't after it. Part of me will say, well, if you're losing, identify what it's causing you to lose, and then adjust based upon that. In these games, we saw EbolaVirus march his medevacs directly into a bunch of units. They died. Guess I better do different paths. Or, after a while, wow, these drops actually are hurting me early on. I guess I won't do them. Still using the same overall build, but adjusting like that. So that would be the first one. The second thing I would say is, if you're losing, be stubborn for 4 or 5 more games, but then feel free to just abandon it and to do something else. In fact, a lot of people will gravitate towards what makes them happy stylistically. You'll see a player like Chef, who goes for very fast Zergling speed against Protoss and is really aggressive. You'll see someone like Spinishua go for really slow Zergling speed against Protoss. In fact, almost no speed at all against Protoss, and just holds things off with Queens and Spine Crawlers for a long time. And sometimes these different styles click more with certain people. So you might say to yourself, well, I like Chef, so I'm going to try to do his build, but it doesn't really, I don't get, I'm losing a lot. But when I try Spanishua's style, all feels wonderful. There's nothing wrong with abandoning and switching around, and it's important for you to sort of find your stylistic self, but I would just throw in there, be a little bit stubborn. Be a little bit stubborn in there. So in a sense, yeah, if it's losing, I want you to apply this adjustment, but feel free to abandon it at selective times, sort of in that quest. I'm going to take 2 more questions. 2 more questions. So, Karma says, Dear Day 9, as a Zerg player, I have trouble adjusting my strategy in small ways. How do I get better at explaining my strategy to myself so I can better adjust it without big changes? So, Zerg, in my experience playing lots and lots and lots of Zerg recently, I would definitely take into account what you're going to do with certain pop-offs of larvae. Like, alright, my queen, whoosh, she just adds larvae to a hatchery. When that first set pops off, are you going to make all drones? Are you going to make all Zerglings? Are you going to make 2 Zerglings and 2 drones? And what you'll actually start to see with Zerg in a lot of the matchups, in early games specifically, is that there's like 3 units that you make. There's like Zerglings, Overlords, and drones. And then maybe if you're feeling real crazy, some roaches. Yeah. So, what you need to do is, I guess I would say you need to zoom in a little more. With Protoss and Terran, it can be quite obvious. It's like, shall I get a barracks or shall I get a factory? Those are big. With Zerg, building around a drones or building around a Zerglings might feel similar because you're still just doing stuff with your hatch, but they actually end up being quite different. That is probably the best way I would make those adjustments. And I have found lots of cool things like, okay, I'm not going to make any Zerglings at the start, but with my when my pool finishes, I'm going to get a queen. That queen's going to add larvae, and with that first pop off of larvae, I'm going to build 4 sets of Zerglings. I'm going to do magical things with them. Then I'm going to go back to making drones. Or, hey, let me try this style. Let me only make Zerglings until my first set of larvae pops off, and that is when I'm going to begin my drone production. Still making just Zerglings and drones, but that ends up having a dramatic impact on the game. So I would just sort of toss you that little bit of guidance. JS Knox, Dear Day 9, what the hell were you on yesterday? Just giggling, baby. Just straight up giggling. One of my favorite quotes is that in improv, everything is canon. Or another way to say that is in improv, you never say no. And an example of that is like, if you've ever been around a bunch of people and you'd be like, man, I wish I could balance a dinner plate on my head. People who aren't in the mood for funny will be like, well, that's dumb. Yeah, you have too much time on your hands. Looking for something that might get a laugh, but then that shuts it down. An improv person will totally just be like, oh man, like, oh, you should enter the world balancing heads on plates competition. Yes, they have a huge turnout. It's really hard when you get to the finals. You get that dinner plate made out of cats. Oh, it's hard to balance. You just run with it. I was hitting a point where I just started, was just, whatever I said, it was so stupid. Oh my god, it was so stupid. But I just lost it. I was so tired from MLG. Woo! Just don't say no, man. Never say no to yourself. If you just start running with an idea, just go with it. And you will end up in someplace ridiculous, and sometimes you'll find it hilarious. Woo! So let's take one more question. So let us just take one more question. From Frosacold. Day 9, how do I improve my mechanics? So, I want to take this question because the phrase mechanics is so frequently used that it's almost crippled by how vague or how rapidly people gloss over it. Like, you'll hear people say things like, oh yeah, X player, hey, he has good mechanics. Or, my mechanics aren't so good, but my strats are. That's so glossing over it, Like, you'll never hear top players be like, yeah, I have good strats. It's so vague it doesn't mean anything. With mechanics, it's important that you break it down into little things, like, is my mouse control off? When I box a worker and I click it to go mine somewhere. Or if I am controlling my mutalisks and I want to specifically right-click on a mule in his mineral patch, but I keep missing. Maybe it's my mouse control that's the problem. Or maybe it's that I have my hotkeys on the keyboard and my hands kind of shake over the keyboard. I know you guys are out there where you just like, 7, 1. You get that shaky. You don't have the confidence. You don't have that confident tempo that you'll see, that grace from a player like, Select from Team Dignitas. You'll never see that from a lot of like lower level players. And I totally understand that. So you need to be able to identify that's specifically what I'm practicing. What are some other things that can go wrong? You're macro slipping, you're not making enough SCVs. And the way to do it is to really just identify little tiny instances of it going wrong and just work on those. I'm forgetting SCVs. All right, I'll just work on that. My macro slipping. All right, I'll just work on that. And don't tell yourself, I'm working on mechanics. Have a specific thing that you'll end up working on, and you'll have great bucket loads of more success. So that's going to wrap up the daily. It's definitely a longer daily. Whatever. Tomorrow, I'm hoping I can get this one game from Slush. If not, I'll get another game from Slush, because I like Slush. Coming up, on Monday, I'm going to DreamHack, as you might imagine. So I'm going to be out of town for about 3 weeks. I'm going to DreamHack, and then when I come back, I'm immediately going out of town again. So what's going to be pre-recorded is a whole bunch of videos, a series that I'm going to entitle Steal This Build. We're going to look at a variety of build orders and openings and different matchups and just encourage you to steal them. They're going to be, I guess I would call them like little pastry dailies, little tiny, like a little daily donut. Like, oh, that was delicious. Not like full hour-long mofos like what we're doing right here, but, something a little bit more compacted and a little bit more focused. We're going to be looking at things like Slush's Zerg vs. Zergs, Tyler's PvP, MMA's, TVZ, and whatever else I end up discovering. I want to do stuff from Idra, but he actually used a little bit too much variety at MLG. And I actually don't mean that like facetiously, like actually he was doing a lot of different things. Maro's ZVP is something I think I'll do another relook at. So without any further ado, I'm going to go. Bye, guys. Bye.
Oh yeah, so no. Fun Day Monday, Newbie Tuesday, for the next few weeks. Those will be back. Bye, guys.